Well, let's bring in an environmentalist speaking about Air Commodore Akugbe Iyamu. This is one person who has written all sorts of articles, about 400 and more of them, concerning the flooding disaster in Nigeria. Air Commodore, thank you so much for being here. I have been looking forward to having this conversation with you. The reason is, I remember after NIMET, that's the Meteorological Agency, had issued its flood warnings back in February. We had you in the studio, and I remember you saying Nigeria needs to sit up and put some measures in place before the worst happens. You said this year might be worse than what we saw in 2012. And here we are right now. What do you think we should have done, really, to avoid this level of mayhem being unleashed by floods in Nigeria?
Yeah, thank you for having me. You see, the predisposing conditions were all there. In January, you have the massive snow coming in, snow melt. And coming again, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change also predicted. They told you that the world temperature have risen by 0.85 since 1885. So what is all this one saying? The more the temperature, the more the amount of water that is going to be held in the atmosphere. Now, for every 1 degree Fahrenheit rise, you are going to have almost 6% of water in the atmosphere. So it kept coming. Now, the flood was not meant to go to houses or go to everywhere. It was meant to go to a place. But along the way, we have decimated all the elements. That is the trees that is supposed to be on the seabed, including the coastlines. They've gone. The floodplain, including the wetlands, they are all gone. Now people are now mistaking floodplain as if it's a place that you can go and develop. NASA also warned that, look, the people living in the flood area now have grown from 20% to 24%. What does that mean? What does that mean? That was 10 times more of what was predicted.
Could we have done better, especially from the point of the government? When I say government, I'm not just talking about federal, I'm talking state, even local government. What could have done better to avoid the loss of over 600 lives as it stands today?
See, Amaka, my thesis was on flood in Nigeria in 2013. My thesis was on it. So the flood in Nigeria, the data and everything, they're there. Interestingly, like you said, I've written more than 400 articles on the various aspects of the environment, talking tree cutting and everything. You see, when I, in the course of writing the thesis, I went to India and Rhode Island. The most fascinating thing was in Rhode Island. Rhode Island is with the capital Providence. It's just like Bayelsa. They have 4 giant pumps pumping water back to the ocean. So getting into the management of flood is very expensive. It's very expensive. And you see, the complementary strategy, which is the policy, it's not static. If you do something this year, by next year, it's going to make no sense of it. What we need to do now, and what we should begin to do now, is that we have to give data to people, to the vulnerable, to enable them make informed choices, and to enable them to survive the flood stage. The flood stage means the number of days that the flood is going to stay. So they need data now to be able to make informed choices themselves as they go along. Yeah.
So that way we shouldn't just heap all of the responsibility, in the hands of the government. Let's talk about the fact that the Hydrological Agency had said that rain that was supposed to fall for the entire rainy season came down in 2 hours. Yeah. The Minister of Water Resources did say the Lagdo Dam is not responsible, but the timing of when the Lagdo Dam was unleashed in Cameroon and the flooding in Nigeria, quite coincidental. Yeah. About the same time. Yeah. But, that whole argument still continues. But Nigeria, we were aware that the Lagdo Dam was going to be released. The embankment in Adamawa that you spoke about the last time, where are we on that? So that way, even if we're saying it's rainfall, but we know that the Lagdo Dam is released every 4 years, the water comes into Nigeria through the river Benue downway into the south. So what should we be doing moving forward? And did we even do the right things in the first place as it concerns the embankment in Adamawa to help mitigate the impact from Lagdo?
See, overall, the episode of rain has increased in intensity and constancy. You understand? So the warmer temperature now is allowing more water to go into the atmosphere. So what are you now having? The storm cloud, what do you call it, is becoming heavier. So they become so heavy that they break easily. Whether Lagdo Dam or not, which I don't want to go to that direction, everything at the end of the day is supposed to end up in the lagoon. At the end of the day, you believe it, and you must give the lagoon a cavity. Otherwise, the lagoon will be so full that water will not be able to enter. So at the end of the day, we need to deseed most of all these things. We need to deseed the river line. We need to deseed the sea and all, so that the water can have a free flow. We need to create cavity in the lagoon. And additionally, you see, the tributaries that enter the ocean, we need to clear them of waste. The
tributaries, yeah.
Yes, we need to clear them of waste. Waste management. They need to be taught that, look, the waste that you think you are dropping into the ocean will come to haunt you on a different day. And I still want to say that we need to hand over data to the vulnerable to enable them to make informed decision.
We own the fight against climate change, and of course what we can. And I want to talk about the Paris Accord. I saw the article you wrote a couple of days ago where you said the 2015 Paris Accord is no longer sufficient. But guess what? Just yesterday, France itself dropped out of that accord because according to its Minister of the Environment, it says the accord is no longer compatible. Of course, we know the realities of what the times are with the war in Ukraine and the energy crisis in Europe. But unfortunately, Africa, that contributes less than 1% to climate change, is actually suffering almost the most from its impact. So, as we get ready to wrap up these conversations, African leaders, what should we be demanding for right now, especially as we look forward to COP27 that is coming up in Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt just next month?
Let's disaggregate the Paris Agreement. Now, when the COP started in 1993, then in 1997, you went for the Kyoto Protocol. The Paris Agreement is just harvesting the Kyoto Protocol. And what was the main thrust? The main thrust was that, look, the developed countries, we are the one contributing the emission. You are not doing as much as. So in view of that, we are going to make finances available for you to be able to adapt, mitigate, and do whatever you have to do. So when it was ratified in Morocco, Marrakesh, 4 countries refused, or they did not ratify it, and one of them is a very great polluter. So most of all these things, they were all they were happening. Nobody saw the crisis in Ukraine. The main thing was the fossil fuel. Now with the transition energy out of the way, people have to survive. For example, Jenny said, look, by 2025 or thereabout, we're going to have 80% renewable, which by January they already have 40%. But now they are back.
They're going back to coal.
They are going back to coal. So the winter is coming. How are they going to survive?
Right.
And the Norway pipeline, that is the European pipeline, that would have come into most of these things. I mean, it
went up in flames, and the accusations have been
it's inadequate. And you see, everybody believed that, look, the renewable energy sector have gone so advanced that you would have been able to take this one. I would be able to take the shock. But you have seen the reality now.
So it's not about balancing, lives and managing the climate. So in the how does Africa fit in this balance? You know, we're facing this impact as it stands right now, but it looks like even the goal of 2050 for cleaner energy, that might elude us because of the realities of the energy crisis in continents like Europe. So the balance, how can we find it to keep ourselves and our people safe?
Yes, well, you see, we have seen the threat now. The threat will force us to have a balance. The threat of climate change. You understand? Like I told you before, see, NASA has warned that, look, the people that are experiencing the flood now have moved from 20 to 24%. That is 10 times more than what was predicted. So the balance, the crisis now will force us to reject the Paris Agreement. Well, for me, if you look at it, you can see that in reality now, it's squaring with reality now. So the reality is staring all of us at the face. So it need to be reworked and everything. First of all, you have to survive. The winter is coming, and you can see from the code that is coming, or the data that is coming, you can see that it's going to also be like the winter of 2021, and people need to survive.
Right.
Yes.
Well, we have to find that balance, but you said take this campaign to the people so
Take
that
the
way
people.
we own
Give them the data.
the fight against climate change. Commodore Akugbe Iyamu.